Good day, everyone. I hope everyone is having a good day. I'm having one myself. And welcome again to another episode. If you are new, please like, subscribe, and share. I usually talk about geopolitics, and I thank you. Most of you have been reaching out to me, and I thank you, all of you, for watching and reaching out to me. So let's get straight away. So today I'll be looking at King Charles III and the work ahead of him, especially in uniting the Commonwealth. If you don't know, the Commonwealth are former British colonies. So there are 56 of them. 56, 14 of them are integrated into the British Empire till today. The Queen is the supreme ruler of these colonies. The other remaining are loosely attached to the monarchy in terms of they're just former colonies, but they are members of the Commonwealth. They engage, they fall under the British Commonwealth organization, but they don't recognize the Queen as their sovereign ruler. So they have the liberty to choose their presidents. And to choose their leaders. But the other 14, even though they choose their prime ministers and leaders, the Queen still reigns as supreme ruler. So, the road ahead of King Charles is not easy, and his first task will be to unite the Commonwealth. Before the Queen passed away, there were talks that the Commonwealth had become very irrelevant in today's society because since the Commonwealth was founded in the 1940s, and after the colonization, the independence of most of the countries that British was under, they continue maintaining the Commonwealth as an organization of influence and extending British British power and British rule in some or British influence, even though after independence, the Commonwealth didn't have the strength as the colonial times. It was still very influential, even to this loosely attached state. So the Commonwealth has been losing its meaning. It has been seen as an organization that perpetuates and reminds the former colonies of the struggles that they went through of colonization, of occupation, of one of the most worst crimes against humanity. So even though it has tried to recreate its image through things like Commonwealth Games, Miss Commonwealth, beauty pageants, through scholarships and all these, it still finds it hard to clean a past that spans centuries. And, it's not a good past. So there has been mutiny, I'd say a silent mutiny, or especially in these 14 very strong Commonwealth members. A study was done in Canada and it showed that, 55% of the population did not support a referendum that would push it away from that will remove Britain or the Queen as the main monarch as the main supreme monarch in Canada. But if the Queen died, another one was carried, unless it was saying that 55% support the monarch as long as the Queen is there. And then one was done after the Queen has passed, and it showed that 34% support a referendum because now they felt, Queen Elizabeth seemed to have had some kind of attachment in the Commonwealth, and most of these countries stayed in the Commonwealth because out of respect for Queen Elizabeth. But now they are free to do. Last year, we remember that Barbados, a country where Rihanna hails from, it removed the Queen as the head of state, and it's now a free sovereign country. And Barbados is a very interesting country because they don't need a referendum to do such an event. It was just a parliamentary a government decision to remove the Queen. Although the process had started in the 1990s, where a commission was held to oversee and see if it was fit. But because of politics, nothing ever happened. Well, they organized the referendum in 2005 and 2006, even though the referendum was not necessary. But because of politics, again, it never happened. But since the new government, was bold enough to make that decision. And since Barbados move, it has brought a ripple effect of secession from other from other Commonwealth states, like Antigua, Barbuda, Jamaica. The Antigua and Barbuda, they're even planning in the next 3 years to have one. It's pushing all this country because when you look at even the Commonwealth structure, you find that most countries that won this succession are mostly countries that are dominated by black people, the former slave, the people who brought their forefathers were bought in as slaves. Because if you see a country like Australia, the prime minister was being asked, but it was saying the issue of pulling away from the Commonwealth is not a main issue. New Zealand, Canada, it's 50-50, but the countries that are pushing this are African countries inhabited by African, because they feel the monarch has never benefited them in any way. In fact, to them, I was reading an article of someone saying to them they feel that the monarch benefited, and the Britain and Britain benefited so much on their backs, because during the slave trade, the slave trade was a very good business, and the production of sugarcane, especially in these islands, the production of sugarcane at that time was at its peak, and the monarch made a lot of money from that. Also, the first companies that were formed to do business in slavery from Britain, in Britain, their shareholders were the monarchs. You go from Queen Elizabeth I, King George. You look at all these people. They were monarchs, they were shareholders, board members in these companies that were involved heavily in slave trade. And if you see today, even today, you find that where the most African descendants of Africans in these islands, Barbados, Jamaica, these islands are still poor, still struggling with social amenities. So to them, they feel that the crown has never benefited. The crown has just been there to care for its own interests, and it's just there as a figure to extend its influence, and to live on the glory days of the colonial British Empire, but they really don't care about these people, and that's what they feel, because they all, they even asking, when we want to come to Britain, we have to apply for visa, and it's not that easy. There are so many loopholes just to come, and yet you keep on telling us that the Queen is our sovereign ruler, the Queen is ours, but even to see her, even to visit our homeland is such a big task. So the most of the movement is being pushed by these African control islands, because they feel they've been neglected. You saw when the Queen Jubilee year, when she celebrated her Jubilee year, when she celebrated her Jubilee year, Prince William and the wife came to Jamaica, and we saw those pictures of they were greeting people, but they were barbed wire and wire meshes, between them. So the pictures looked more of a colonial situation. And but when you see them in England, in UK, there's no barbed wire. They can greet people. So some people felt that it's nothing has changed much. The perception is still the same. It's just that you can't do certain things today, like slavery. Colonization, but the mentality is still the same. And they feel that the monarch is out of touch. I was seeing a video of Prince Edward and the Prime Minister of Barbuda, and the Prime Minister of Barbuda was telling Prince Edward, please, our social structures are falling, our schools are, and us, we gave a lot for the crown, in terms of labor. When there was slave trade, our ancestors were bought in this island. We planted sugarcane, we did a lot. Just, you can talk to them and negotiate with them so that they can give us some reparation. That's some, they can finance, so that at least we can, try to meet our social, try to upgrade our social systems. At least they can be somewhere. And Prince Edward literally laughed. To him it was a joke. It was more of a joke. So it shows you even the level of entitlement, and ignorance. They are so out of touch. So this is what is pushing the Commonwealth succession. And even the questions are being asked: is the monarchy going to survive? Because if you look at the Queen's burial, they've spent almost, I was saying the estimate is almost £6 billion. That's a lot of money, £6 billion. And yet energy costs are rising in Europe. Inflation is rising in Europe, food is rising in Europe. So people are feeling that, the crown is becoming too expensive to maintain, and it is losing its purpose, its touch. When I saw President of Kenya, William Ruto, when he visited the British Embassy, to pay condolences, the British Embassy in Kenya to pay condolences to the Queen's death, he said that the Commonwealth needs to reform. It needs to not just be, a legacy of the colonial empire, just being the Commonwealth, being associated with the Queen. It needs to put in structures to ensure all countries that are member of the Commonwealth are, at par. The economies, it addresses the issues that are affecting the normal person. It doesn't just become a club of the elite, or a club of where, the Queen or King Charles or the monarch of England is the head, and everyone is the subject. So I think King Charles is going to have a very, very, very hard time, because I think the reason why there weren't even a lot of issues when it comes to the monarchy and the Commonwealth is because the mother was cared deeply by the British and probably some of these Commonwealth countries. But King Charles he's not seen as a diplomatic person. He's not seen with that favor or that love that people saw the mother with. This is going to be one of his hardest tasks, as he assumes, because Britain's legacy is on the Commonwealth. Its power, its influence is on the Commonwealth. And every time there's a Queen celebration, to these Commonwealth countries, it is a celebration of the colonial legacy. They cannot separate the two. They cannot separate the Queen or the monarch from the colonial legacy. So it will be very interesting to see how King Charles will deal with this, because I feel right now, if countries decide to leave, nothing much they can do, the British monarch, because the best they can do is just to let the process proceed, without any hiccups and effectively. Even when he was in the Commonwealth meeting that happened in Rwanda, most of the Commonwealth countries came. Prince Charles himself said that any countries that want to leave has his blessing. He doesn't mind if they leave, but he has to say that. But deep down, I'm sure they're not happy, because that's a big legacy that's fading away. And if countries start to leave the Commonwealth, it will lose its value. And then now, even people in Britain will start the conversation of, do we really need the monarch? And that's what I think they should try to avoid if they want to save the situation. But again, at the end of the day, the boat has started. It's starting to sail now. Barbados started. Antigua, Barbuda, all these island countries. They are going to follow next. Who knows? Even probably countries like Canada. But at the end of the day, I feel that the reason why there's this push is because the Commonwealth has not been effective in enhancing development. It is seen as a power play, as the monarch just maintaining other countries, just a power play, so that it's a feel-good organization where the monarch still doesn't feel like it lost its colonies. It want to feel like it's in control of its colonies, even if it's not the same way. Because you must remember that these colonies under the British Kingdom were purely for extraction purposes. The wealth that is in Britain now is because of these colonies. There are even talks now of the jewelries in the king's crown, in the king's staff, to be returned to the original places. The Queen's staff has one of the largest diamonds uncut. There's demand from South Africa that the diamond needs to go back. The crown has a diamond from India. So, the artifacts in the British Museum, there's that talk of please return a stolen item. In Kenya, there was a freedom fighter, a leader who resisted against the British, was called Koitalel Arap Samoei. And he had resisted the British for almost 11 years. They were trying to build railways and keep destroying, attacking, and attacking them, just trying to to maintain freedom for his people. And then they tricked him. They told him to come to a meeting to negotiate peace. And when he came, he was assassinated, and they cut off his head and took it to Britain. So the great grandchildren of Koitalel Arap Samoei, yesterday they were saying that they demand that Britain returns the head of their leader. And this is the kind of scenarios that Britain finds itself, because uh, every time there's a celebration of this monarchy, this Commonwealth, the legacy of colonial cannot escape them. When you look at it, because it's not two different things. It's the same. Now you can see there's a lot of talk about the colonization. Like my other video was talking about the Mau Mau. The Mau Mau was a freedom fighter movement in Kenya against the British colonial, but the British colonial labeled them terrorists and insurgents, but they were freedom fighters. So there's a lot of talk about how the Commonwealth is going to survive, especially with people also demanding repatriation from the English government, because they're saying, how can you not give us repatriation, yet we slaved, our ancestors slaved. And it's very funny, because I was reading an article that was saying, the slave owners of these islands, the Jamaicas, the Antigua, the slave owners, the British people who owned these farms, their descendants were still receiving money until 2015 from the British government, British banks. When slavery was abolished, the slave owners, asked for repatriation because their business was dying. And the contracts that they signed, they are still receiving money till today. The latest was in 2015. But, then when it comes to repatriation of giving money to the people who really suffered and worked on the back of, the ancestors, there's this talk of, it's happened a long time, let's forget. But people are not forgetting about giving money to the descendants of slave owners. So it shows a big double standards. And that's why I'm saying that the Commonwealth might not survive. It's very tricky. I'll be surprised if it survives 100 years, but it's a wait and see. And we'll wait and see. I'll be watching and seeing how Prince Charles starts the ground running. And I'll look at, other issues that are affecting the monarch, and what might he do, probably to try and retain the Commonwealth and try to, to probably, because he's seen as filling a very big shoe, since the mother was seen as a very, as a person who navigated very well. So Prince Charles has a big task, but it's a wait and see. And I'll keep you guys updated. Thank you so much. Cheers.